Hi everyone. In today's video, I wanted to share with you my 3 favorite books of 2023. And something that I've discovered this year as well that helped me discover way more books than I ever have, which I'll speak about a bit later in the video. But I'll focus on the 3 physical books that really made an impression on me in 2023, and that I hope you might discover and might enjoy over the holidays or sometime next year. But let's jump right in. Number 1 being Leonardo da Vinci's biography by Walter Isaacton. This is a brick. This is, how many? More than 500 pages. I've had this book in my library for a year, maybe 2 years now. It was recommended by a photographer friend that I ran into in India that told me that this book really made an impression on him. And I've been wanting to read it for a while because I read another book by Walter Isaacton, which maybe some of you have already read, but Steve Jobs' biography, which was the reason in the first place I decided to do a 6-month trip in India. They're pretty comparable in size. They're both pretty big books, which is not something I used to ever read, but I'm getting the hang of it. Leonardo da Vinci is a super interesting person. This book, I was expecting to learn more about his life, and what I was mostly interested in is more his scientific approach. A lot of people see him as a painter because of his work on the Mona Lisa or The Last Supper and numerous other paintings. But I went to visit his house this summer on a trip to France. The last 3 years of his life, he lived in France, dans la Vallée du Loire, and was a friend with the French king. And this house has now turned into a museum showcasing his inventions, some of which, actually most of which, had little success. But his creativity and the way he made branches between anatomy, between physics, between botany, it is just really impressive. And the author makes a lot of parallels between Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci in the way that Steve Jobs' success, in a way, is thanks to his interest in calligraphy, and he brought design to the Mac, and that's what made it stand out and made the Mac so user-friendly and intuitive and beautiful. Great book, but yeah, it focuses a lot on art history and a dissection of the many paintings he's done in his life, the techniques he used, because he's left-handed, the way he has a certain way of making his lines, his sfumato technique, which is blurring the lines such that there's not really any contours. Anyways, really interesting book. It takes some time to read, but I highly recommend it for anyone who is creative, who is even like entrepreneurial or into innovation. I find Leonardo da Vinci is one of the greatest minds that has ever walked this planet. A really interesting figure, who was a precursor on so many fronts. And I'm happy I now know more about his work and his life. Number 2, Say the Right Thing by Kenji, Yoshino, and David Glasgow. This is not a book that I would have picked up myself, because it's not in like my general rotation of books or centers of interest, let's say. This was a book that was recommended by my girlfriend. She is a EDI expert, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, for the acronym EDI. And she heard of this book, she read it, she read like more than 30 books this year, and it was her favorite read of the year. And so I asked her if she had anything to recommend for me to learn more about EDI, because it's an interesting subject and it's something that she's ultra passionate about, so I wanted to learn more. And she said this is a super accessible read that she think I'd really enjoy, and I did. It made it to my top 3 list of the year. It really changed my perspective about what EDI is. Most people don't know what it is, but for me, this kind of grounded it in it being a book about being a better leader and a better communicator. I think that's really the best way to describe it. It talks about how to apologize authentically, how to manage and navigate a conversation in which you disagree with someone, about conversational traps, which is extremely interesting, and that how when we communicate, we might have some unconscious reactions that cause a disagreement in the conversation, when there's ways to avoid that and have a more constructive conversation all around. So yeah, I would say it's really more around communication than anything else, and being a communication person, someone who's very interested in communication in all its forms. I really love this book, and I highly recommend it to anyone, but especially for someone in a leadership position, someone who wants to become a better leader. Definitely highly recommend this book. My third book, now we're switching over to a novel, Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. He is the winner of a Nobel Prize in Literature. I don't read many novels, as you see with my last two books. I'm more into biographies, documentaries on subjects that are of interest to me, personal development books as well. But it's important, I try to make an effort to read some novels here and there. This author, I discovered him through a previous read from his book Never Let Me Go, that was recommended to me by a former colleague, and really liked his style. It's extremely well written, super interesting. I'm not sure how I could describe it without spoiling it, because, well, you want to discover it for yourself. But I'll say it touches the theme of not technology, but futurology, if I could put it that way. Just future concepts, what the world could be like. I could compare it kind of to Netflix and Black Mirror, but in a positive, heartwarming way. Anyways, it's a bit of a mind bender, but on the lighter side, gets you thinking. Yeah, honestly, all the right ingredients for what makes a really good novel, and gets you thinking a bit too. So, Klara and the Sun would be my third recommendation. And then my last, I said I discovered a lot of books this year. This year I downloaded an app called Blinkist, which it's not sponsored by Blinkist, but it's a audiobook app that essentially gives you a quick 20-minute recap in audio format of a multitude of books and a bunch of different subjects. I saw a few ads of it, so I decided to give it a try. I wasn't sure if it was for me, but really great. I really enjoyed it, and 20 minutes I am able to listen to 1, 2, or 3 while walking in the park. It's really nice. So thank you for watching along. If you have read any of these books, let me know. If you plan on reading them, leave a note in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, ciao.